Welcome inside the MMA War Room, the front line to MMA analysis. Sam Corcoran alongside Chris Shroyer and Srikar Rajendran as always. Guys, it is a massive fight night this week in Atlanta with Kamaru Usman and Joaquin Buckley hyping up that event as the main event for that fight night tomorrow night in Atlanta. But first, guys, a busy week with news after UFC 316. Some fallout after that. Two big fights get announced. The first one in direct relation to what happened at UFC 316. We talked about this guy a lot. Joshua Van, we were debating what's happened next. We said Brandon Moreno. We know he's close to a title shot, and we don't have to wait too long. It's Brandon Royval, the number one contender at UFC 317 International Fight Week. Guys, Chris, I'll start with you, but I'm hyped up for this.
Oh, 1000%. Josh Van put on a fantastic performance against Bruno Silva. And Srikar, you said that a fight that you wanted to see was Brandon Moreno versus Josh Van. You were right about the Brandon part. He is fighting a Brandon. It just happens to be Royval, who is another great flyweight in his own right. Just a great boxer, great technical fighter, striker, has grappling as well. We saw that in the Pantoja fight for the championship. That was actually a close fight. I had that 3-2. I believe the judges had that 4-1. But this will be a great test for Josh Van. And this kind of goes against my claim of maybe having Josh Van fight a little bit up in competition before giving him the top contenders, top three contenders. But nonetheless, I am extremely excited to see what the Fearless does, because that man is truly fearless inside the octagon, and he's going to make a name for himself very soon. So, Srikar, what is your prediction?
Well, I love the fight, first of all. Obviously, I wanted Van to fight up. Obviously, Moreno was the dream fight in terms of how both guys box. But a fight with Royval, I actually think I might spoil an early pick right now, but I think Josh Van is going to win, like straight up. I think I rewatched that Royval and Tyra fight after this fight got announced. And immediately what I picked up on was Tyra's really good. Like, I love Tatsuro Tyra. But when it comes to a fight with Royval, he was really limited in the areas that Royval is really good in. And I don't think that's the case with Josh Van. Josh Van's takedown defense is super sharp. It's been looking really good. It gets better with every fight. And you go into a fight with Royval, he said on an interview, like, yeah, I went back, I watched his fights. Like, he studies the game. He knows what he's going into. It's not like he's out of his depths. It's not like he's out of his league here. And this is also the most dangerous striker that Royval has seen since Brandon Moreno. And that was a while ago, like a really long time ago when we harken back to those days. So I think it's a good matchup for Van. I think he's going to take advantage of it. I'm really excited because I'm going to be able to go see it live in Vegas. I'm going to be at International Fight Week. So they got a card cooking for me. I really like it. So
that's awesome.
I'm really excited. It's going to be a good fight.
I was looking at this fight, and Srikar, I also said Brandon Moreno was going to be the best bet for Josh Van, but now you get thrown against the number one contender, Brandon Royval. I think that's even more deserving of a title shot if he wins against Brandon Royval than Brandon Moreno, the number one contender. And this is also perfect for the UFC right now. You always hear the complaints that the flyweight division is the most boring division. A lot of people say Pantoja is one of the most boring champs, which I completely disagree with. But just going off that take right now, Josh Van would be a more exciting champ than Alex Pantoja. And I think that's what the UFC needs to really spark what I believe is a pretty good flyweight division. I think people underrate it a lot.
I agree, but can I throw a wrinkle into this? Because
let's hear the wrinkle.
Because Pantoja's fighting at International Fight Week, obviously same time as Josh Van. Both of their schedules are not the same. Van is very, very active. Pantoja likes to take a little bit more time between defenses. Like, he usually takes like 6 months or whatever it may be. It takes half the year, right?
So I don't think
will probably come back in December. Will Van really want to wait all the way until December for a title shot? Or would you, or rather, keep him on the Noche card? Like, make the Moreno fight still happen. Like, if he beats Moreno and Royval, like, obviously you're untouchable at that point. But
I don't think this has to. If Van wins this fight, I don't think it has to warrant a title shot, which I also think is good for the UFC.
Yeah.
If Van wants to, if the UFC wants to give Josh Van a title shot and Van wants to wait, perfect. If he wants to keep fighting, if he wants to fight a Brandon Moreno or if he wants to fight a Brandon Moreno or someone, a top contender like that, that's perfect for him as well. And then you can probably put him up against Pantoja, or if Kai Kara France wins, then there's that. If Kai Kara France wins, then it's a little different because Pantoja would probably get the immediate rematch. So we'll have to see what happens at International Fight Week.
I think it's a little bit tricky because I love the UFC rewarding Josh Van because he is the most active fighter in the UFC. This is going to be his, I believe, 10th or 11th fight in the 2 years.
He fights on
he's been in the
average
UFC.
every 58 days, which
that
is insane.
that is
That's
actually insane. And yeah, to your guys' point, he fights Brandon Royval. Obviously, if he wins, he will be the #1 contender. And that puts him in a tricky situation of, he's fought so often and so actively to get to the #1 contender spot or just even in the top 5 that would he want to take another fight and risk potentially losing that and pushing himself back down the rankings? I feel like if I was him, once I get the #1 contender spot, I would kind of just, sit and wait and see how everything plays out and maybe hope that Pantoja or
Van is built like that though.
I know. I really think he just wants to fight, man. He's just a brawler. And I think that's one of the best characteristics about him is that he's just willing to get back in the octagon whenever he can. But speaking of the flyweight division, the Ultimate Fighter's happening right now, Chael versus DC as coaches. And one of the divisions in the Ultimate Fighter is flyweight. And to your credit, Sam, that is a division that they're really trying to bolster up and make it a premier division in the UFC. And I think that this is definitely a step in the right direction. Josh Van's really young too. And if he can, take that next step, which he has been taking, he could be a flyweight contender for, the next decade. We don't know.
Oh, but absolutely. He's one of the most hyped up prospects in the UFC right now. So it's crazy to see.
He's not even a prospect anymore. He's not becoming really a full, anymore. He's almost a star.
Contender at this point.
He's 23, a 23-year-old contender. We were talking earlier. I think he has a chance to be the second youngest champion ever, ahead of Jose Aldo, behind John Jones. So a very good time for the young Josh Van. Now looking at some fighters on the older side, a middleweight bout was announced for UFC 319, Jared Cannonier versus Michael Venom Page. I'm excited for this one. I think this is going to be a barn burner of a fight. Here's where I set back a little bit is it feels weird to see two older fighters on such a hyped up matchup because it's weird to say like the winner of this might be in the title picture. Whereas realistically, you have to think of it like these fighters are towards the end of their career. It's hard to see where these guys go forward, but nonetheless, this is a barn burner of a fight. And I think this is kind of just let me give one last hurrah for the MMA, especially for Jared Cannonier. Obviously off a big win against RoboCop, coming in against Michael Venom Page, which I think is a fantastic match for him. Guys, what do you think about this fight?
Yeah,
you take it.
Yeah, it's a barn burner for sure. You said it. In terms of where they could go after this, and I know we've had our text conversation, so we've already talked about this a little before, but I'll just kind of reiterate the same stuff. Obviously, whoever wins this is in a great spot within the division. Cannonier gets a win on MVP and RoboCop back-to-back. I mean, the guy is going to be surging up. And I think old age is all the more reason to fast track. Like, I think this actually helps them a little bit because the young guys, they have time on their hands. They can wait a little bit. Such as a guy like Imavov or a guy like they can wait, Not saying that Cannonier would necessarily jump them, but, he could be in that title eliminator conversation. But I do think for MVP, if we look at it on the flip side, if he beats Cannonier, he's coming off the win over Shara Bullet. I think 185 suits him a lot better than 170 does because he doesn't worry about the grappling as much. When he can just strike and kind of flow, I think he's a lot better. And I think for that reason, 185 suits him a lot. And if he does get past Jared, which is a real possibility, you got to start talking about, how far is he going to fight up? Because he's an entertaining guy. The UFC brought him over from Bellator. He's a guy that had a lot of success in an outside organization, and we know that the UFC has been prioritizing that as of late, especially in the coming weeks. We'll see guys like Aaron Pico come in and Tofik Musayev and all these guys who have success already. So if MVP wins this fight against Jared, could a top 5 guy be in reach?
Yeah, honestly, I think so. I think this is a make it break it fight for both of them. I agree. Cannonier really needs this fight to kind of stay on track and so we could still aspire for championship gold. And I think MVP, you're right, Srikar. I think that moving up a weight class will benefit him because he doesn't, have to make that weight cut. That is difficult for some fighters. He never really had a problem with that anyway. I think it's just more of seamless lifestyle change. It'll suit him better. And he reminds me of, I know it's a interesting comparison, but through striking, very much Adesanya. They really don't have a grappling games. They're amazing strikers. Obviously, Adesanya has been in a little bit of a lull as of late, but I think MVP could really shake up this middleweight division and add another contender to a pretty stacked division. Like when you're looking up and down, Jared Cannonier is number 7. So if MVP beats him, he's going to take that spot at 7. And right above him, you have Kyle Bahayo, Robert Whittaker, Adesanya, Chimaev's fighting Duplessis for the championship in Chicago in August. It'll be very interesting to see how everything shakes up. Even MVP, let's say MVP wins and he's number 7. I could see, I don't believe Sean Strickland is booked, is he? I don't think
Strickland's
he
not
is.
booked. Israel Adesanya is not booked. One of those guys could easily fight MVP, which would be a fantastic matchup.
Yes, but then if Cannonier wins, a rematch with Izzy could 100% be in the books. I think
by the time the fight happens, Robert Whittaker will have fought. If he lost to Renier de Ridder, or even if RDR wins.
Well, here's the thing: is there that much interest in a rematch with Izzy and Cannonier?
I don't think so. I think it would just be more of a.
I mean, it's two. Here's the thing. No. Let me. Sorry to interrupt.
No, yeah, go, Sam. You got it.
If you do Izzy Cannonier for the rest of his career is going to be a make it breaker guy. He's in his 40s. He's one of the older fighters in the UFC. Mm-hmm. And Israel Adesanya is on a 3-fight losing streak right now. That's make it or break it for both guys. I don't hate that rematch.
I will say this: watch out for the co-main event of UFC 319, because obviously Dricus and Khamzat Chimaev is locked in as the main event. But well, we don't really know if it's locked in with Chimaev. But
as of right now, it is.
Watch out for that co-main event to be Strickland and Izzy rematching, because in terms of entertainment value, in terms of what the press conference and the pre-fight festivities could look like, that could be really interesting. You get Dricus Duplessis, Israel Adesanya, Khamzat Chimaev, and Sean Strickland at one desk. Like, I mean, what could happen?
Fireworks,
pure war right there.
Yes,
I'm not that interested more so in the Strickland and Izzy rematch as I am what would happen in terms of pre-fight. But watch out for that potential co-main.
Absolutely,
I agree with that.
Well, let's move on to this weekend. More current news: UFC Atlanta, Usman versus Buckley. Guys, before we get into the main card and make some predictions and break down each fight, just a quick word about how you feel about this weekend. For me personally, this is one of the more stacked fight nights this year. And we're seeing the return of Kamaru Usman. We'll talk about it. He is a fantastic test to get back on track after a 3-fight losing streak. It's been 2 years. This should be something that every UFC fan is locked into, to see what Kamaru Usman does versus one of the most up-and-coming welterweights, Joaquin Buckley. And the rest of the card, pretty stacked. We'll get into it. This is an exciting weekend for MMA fans.
Yeah, definitely. I'm really excited. There's a lot of prospects on this card. 3 undefeated prospects. We have Malcolm Wellmaker taking on Chris Matinho on short notice. And Chris Matinho fights have stacked up to be pretty entertaining. So we'll see how that goes. See if Wellmaker can keep that 0 on his record. And then we also have Mansur Abdul-Malik fighting Oumar C. I think that it'll be an explosive card, to say the least. I'm expecting some knockouts on this card. I'm going to make a prediction of at least 4 knockouts on this card.
Ooh, by the way, I'm looking at DraftKings right now. Malcolm Wellmaker is still a minus 2,100 favorite. I'm going to go and check Fliff real quick, because I checked Fliff yesterday, and Malcolm Wellmaker is minus 5,000.
Oh my God.
While we're checking,
according to the UFC website, there aren't even odds on that Malcolm Wellmaker fight.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Malcolm
while we're checking sportsbooks, I'll check FanDuel.
Yeah, on Fliff, he's minus 5,055. But Chris Matinho's one.
That is that's absolutely unreal. That might be, how much minus?
I think he's the biggest favorite in UFC history.
That might be one of the biggest favorites in UFC history. That's Bo Nickel. FanDuel doesn't have him that high. They have him at minus 2,000, but still, that's one of the biggest lines in UFC history, say the least. So a lot of promise for
some money on Matinho at your own risk. But
there you go. Might as well just put $1.
Keywords at your own risk.
Yeah, I think Wellmaker will go in there. And,
if you place bets on our predictions, The MMA War Room is not subject to any fines or suing or anything.
We don't want any hate messages. You screwed me over. You lost me money. I hate you. I'm unsubscribing.
You're betting your own money. We're not betting your money.
Well, we'll stick on this betting note because the first fight on this main card, there is a huge favorite. Let's show it right now. It's Alonzo Menifield versus the undefeated Oumar Sy at the light heavyweight division. Guys, give me your thoughts on this. How do you feel about this? Who's going to win?
Shall I lead things off?
Yeah, take it.
I'm going to go with Oumar Sy by decision. I think Menifield hasn't looked great in his last few fights. He got knocked out by Azamat Murzakanov and Carlos Olberg. Obviously, remember that Olberg knockout. It was literally in 12 seconds because Menifield decided to just bum rush him and knocked out.
Didn't work out too well.
Do that against Carlos Olberg. And then we look at his previous fight in Seattle. He almost lost to Julius Walker, who was making his debut in the promotion. I think Sy is just the better technical striker. I think he'll play the range game and just win on points. He's also better on the ground too, so I wouldn't be surprised at a submission. I think the submission odds for him on DraftKings were plus 140, so they're favoring a submission. But I think Sy gets it done over the distance, and he makes it 12-0 against a rapidly fading Alonzo Menifield.
I'm going to agree with you, Srikar. I have Oumar Sy winning, but I have him winning by knockout. Or, you know what? Actually, I'm going to go by finish because Oumar Sy has proven that he's well-rounded in his own right. And this guy is massive. And Menifield is a big guy in his own right. Menifield's 6 foot with a 76-inch reach. That's pretty good. That's pretty good for a middleweight. And you know, there are taller middleweights, and Sy is one of those taller middleweights. He's 6'4" with an 83-inch reach advantage. He has 4 inches on height, 7 inches on reach. Menifield, you know, he's very durable as absolute hell, and he packs a mean punch. He's not easy to put away. But you mentioned the Olberg fight. I see Oumar Sy as a Carlos Olberg type of fighter. I think he has amazing striking, and he is he's 9-0. All but one of his wins have come by finish. His last win was against Da Woon Jung, which came by decision. That was one of his first fights in the UFC. I believe it was his UFC debut.
I believe that was his UFC debut.
That was
his second fight in the UFC.
Or second fight, But yeah, he lands 4.8 strikes per minute. He absorbs south of 2 strikes per minute, so he's landing a lot more than he absorbs. He's shown he can do it by submission, by knockout. Great defensive prowess. I think Menifield will be hard to put away in terms of KO/TKO. I could see a submission here, but I'm going to say Oumar Sy by finish. If I had to pick one specific method of finish, I'm going to go by submission. I'm going to be different. I think that he won't be able to knock out Menifield, but it will be a good fight. It'll be an absolute barn burner. Don't get me wrong. So Sam, what do you think about this fight?
Yeah, I also got Oumar Sy winning this. He's going to go to 12-0. I have him by submission. I think that ground game is going to torture Menifield throughout this competition. And Oumar Sy is one of the most versatile fighters in the MMA. He can win by decision. He can take people the distance. He can win by knockout. Brutal with the punches, and he has a great ground game. I think that ground game is really where he steps over Menifield in this fight, and that's why I have him winning. Moving on to 12-0, and just look at that size differential: 6 foot versus 6'4". I think that's going to be a massive advantage for Oumar Sy against a fading, what you said, Srikar, a fading Alonzo Menifield. Moving on to 12-0, this should bump him into the rankings with Menifield ranked 15th right now. Not saying he's a title contender yet, but he's moving up there. A win here would creep him up, put him in the rankings, give him what, maybe a top 10 bout, maybe? I don't know.
The one thing is, it's just Menifield's so old, man. He's 37. That's not the ideal age, and Oumar is 29. Excuse me. Yes, he's
this
29.
one, it would give him maybe not a fight in the top 10, but it would give him a fight, which I think is what he needs to take that next step.
And we're gonna release an episode after the event, so we'll talk more about next matchups there. But I think my prediction is they're gonna give him someone else within that like 10 to 15 range. I don't think they're giving him top 10 guy. That makes sense. A Menifield win.
I think the winner of this should. if Menifield wins, I don't even know if you can have him be ranked. If Oumar wins, you'd want to put him in the rankings. But when you're looking at the bottom of the middleweight rankings, or excuse me, light heavyweight. Sorry, you know what? I was looking at the wrong division. Excuse me. Menifield is 15. Obviously, Oumar would just take his spot, and Menifield would fall out. But,
exactly.
Exactly.
Well, Chris, you were talking about middleweight. Let's just jump right to middleweight with Mansur Abdul-Malik versus Cody Brundage. Guys, Mansur Abdul-Malik, a former Maryland wrestler, 8-0, another undefeated fighter. He is the heavy favorite in this one. I'll start this off. Abdul-Malik is a knockout artist. He's going to knock out Cody Brundage right here. I don't see many other ways where Abdul-Malik would win as the heavy favorite. I think he is far better than Cody Brundage, an up-and-coming prospect in the UFC. And I think you have a knockout artist right here who's much better than the other fighters, sizes up against him really well, good size differential, undefeated. I think this works out really well in his favor, and I think he gets the KO win here. I'll keep it that simple.
Yeah, I'm also going Mansur Abdul-Malik. I'll go by TKO. He's going to obliterate Cody Brundage. Like,
look at the reach here, 72 inches versus 79 and a half. That's something that really stands out to me. And I think that's something that makes Abdul-Malik so much better than Cody Brundage in this fight.
Yeah, I think Abdul-Malik just stuns him on the feet and then just finishes him on the ground by ground and pound.
And also, just look at the win by. 88% of his wins are by TKO. I know he's only 8-0.
And you don't even have to look into the stats. I just it's all eye test. Like Brundage almost got finished by Julian Marquez. Like
exactly.
I think it'll be a very scrappy
dude. But fight. That's the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Oh please! I think this will be. But I trust Mansur's hands more than Cody's, and I don't have much faith in Brundage's chin or durability at all. But I do want to pose a question, Chris. I'll let you make your pick. How far can Mansur Abdul-Malik go? Because this guy is really good. I think he's going to be ranked at some point. How far do we think he can get the rankings?
I think he really could have a bright future, but I think there's a few things that need to be cleaned up in terms of just his overall game. Obviously, wrestling, very good. I believe he was a Maryland state champion in high school, went to University of Maryland to wrestle. He's 8-0. 7 of those wins have come by knockout. He has amazing power. He has good hands. But you know what's very interesting? I actually feel like Cody Brundage is the better striker in this fight, if that makes sense. I think technically and skill-wise, sharpness, I think Brundage is the better striker. Mansur Abdul-Malik has tremendous power. And I'll just make my prediction right now. I think he's gonna win by a TKO. I think it'll be later in the fight though, because watching Abdul-Malik fight, his last fight against Nick Klein, he's a little bit hesitant to throw some of those shots. I don't know if he's looking for that one-punch knockout like Joe Pyfer was looking for last Saturday in Newark against Gastelum. But his last fight against Nick Klein, for someone that has amazing knockout power and should trust and believe in their hands, he threw or landed, I believe, one significant strike in the entire first round. That's a little bit concerning to me, especially against someone of that caliber. Nick Klein's okay, not great, not terrible. I do think that he will get to Brundage in the wrestling aspect of this fight. He will control it. He has amazing physique. This guy looks like he was carved out of stone. He's very powerful, and he does pack a punch. I think if he does get the TKO, or he will get the TKO, excuse me, it'll be a little later on in the fight. If I had to pick an over/under, I might go over. I believe it's 1.5. But I think that he needs to put some things together a little more. Just trust in his hands. Just throw. You have the power to knock anyone out. And Brundage has been knocked out many times before, so it's not like he's fighting someone with a granite chin. But I think Mansur could shake up this middleweight division, something that's lacking a little bit. But it'll be interesting to see. I would like to see a more complete performance from Mansur this weekend before I really make a true decision about where I think or what his ceiling could be.
Of course, it's just a thought exercise. I'm just
exactly. I think you look at Abdul-Malik. He's still a prospect at this point. He's only 8-0. He's fairly young. I want to say he's maybe like 25, 26 and around that range.
Yeah, he's 27. Right
27. Right there. So right around that, 1 year over.
Yes.
And he's only 8-0. He doesn't have much. This fight's not going to be enough to get him into the rankings. It'll be a good win if he wins. And you can probably fight up a little bit. You're not going to fight into the rankings. You're still going to get an unranked bout after this. But for him, I think this is a good test against a pretty good striker, Cody Brundage, who has had success in the past. Obviously, he's 1-1 and a no contest in his last 3 fights. The no contest was because of an illegal elbow. So he was getting beaten up, and then the illegal elbow caused the no contest. And gets that win against Marquez, which was huge for him. I think you look at this fight, and I think it's going to be more competitive than people think it is. The odds on this are, if I go back and close,
but even that illegal elbow,
huge favorite. I got you. He's
minus 800. I think it's going to be closer than that, and I do like that over pick you said, Chris. At the end of the day, I do think Abdul-Malik is going to be too much for Brundage to handle. However,
guys, Mansur is going to obliterate him. Like I don't see it. Even that illegal elbow. Talk about like Cody was looking for a way out of that fight because
he was. Oh, that's what. Yeah, and that's what.
Yes, definitely.
It's a good test.
To the point of how long the fight's going to go, something that's interesting is Mansur has never seen a 3rd round in his professional MMA career. So that's definitely something to look for. If the fight goes into deep waters, could Cody pull it out of the fire? I don't necessarily know.
I was going to say, don't underestimate the power of cardio. I know Cody Brundage is not known for his cardio, but just saying.
I'd argue Mansur has better cardio than Cody Brundage. Like, even if
he might.
I know. I'm just saying.
I think this will be a great test for Mansur against a battle-tested UFC vet. He's 5-5 in his 10 UFC fights. He knows how to win. He knows how to lose. And he knows how to fight. He knows how to get people out of there, or sadly get finished. But I think Mansur's
Mansur doesn't know how to lose yet. So
Mansur doesn't know how to lose, but Brundage knows how to lose. So
yes,
exactly. We'll see if Mansur can be the second fighter to keep that 0 on his record.
Absolutely. Let's move on to. Were you going to say something, Srikar?
No, I was just saying, let's see. It's been a weird year for undefeated fighters. So
it has been a lot of fraud checks so far. Just putting it out there. Let's talk about a guy who clearly not a fraud. Yeah, he's a former champion, Cody Garbrandt, taking on Raoni Barcelos. Guys, this is a fight I am really hyped up for at the bantamweight division. Barcelos coming off a big win, he just fraud checked someone. Meanwhile, Garbrandt, a former champion, unranked bout. What do you guys have for this one?
Yeah, Cody's had a rough stretch over the past few years, but I think when he's locked in and when he's fighting smart, I think he's still one of the, more accurate and sharper strikers in the bantamweight division. Like, you look at his hand speed, you look at the power he has in his hands. Obviously, that knockout of Assunção was crazy. The timing, I mean, it's still elite, right? He still has it. And obviously, we don't have to talk about his ground game because it's really never been a strong suit. But if he keeps it standing, he can really look like a vintage Cody No Love Garbrandt here. And then obviously across the cage, you got Raoni Barcelos. He surprised a lot of people when he handed Peyton Talbot his first loss at UFC 11.
Yes, big upset there.
Not me. For people who have actually been following Barcelos, it really was not that shocking because he's always had the tools for it. He's beat Said Nurmagomedov. He's beat Chris Gutierrez. He had a really close fight with Timur Valiev. I mean, his ceiling, it was high. And when he's on, like, he's dangerous. He has power. He's got submissions. His top control was awesome in that Talbot fight. But the thing is, he's also 38 now. And you could see the wear starting to show even when he wins. So here's where it gets interesting. Despite what Barcelos did to Peyton Talbot, I actually feel like this matchup plays into Cody's favor because Barcelos is definitely powerful, but he is hittable. Like, he's very hittable, and he's a little too slow to deal with the kind of speed that Cody Garbrandt could bring in this fight. And let's not forget, like, I'll bring up the Assunção fight again. Like, Garbrandt loves exchanges like that, where he can just bait you into overcommitting and then just crack you on the counter. Like, I think that could be something that happens in this fight. If Raoni Barcelos turns this into a grappling-heavy fight, like, that's his path. He'll win.
Yes.
But, like his path is getting Garbrandt to the fence, just working the body and just grinding away. But, I mean, we can only say that. Like, I don't think that's actually what's going to happen, especially when you consider, like, you'll bring up the Figgy fight. Someone will. But I feel like that was more of Figgy just being insanely good on the ground than Cody being, like, out of his league You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
if Cody keeps this one on the feet, I think he's live for the knockout. And against a slower Barcelos, a 38-year-old aging Barcelos, I think it's exactly what happens. I'm going to go Cody Garbrandt my knockout, and this is going to be my upset pick of the card.
Interesting. So I'll jump in here right now.
Yeah.
And I got Barcelos by decision. I'll just get that right off. So I'm going against Srikar. You look at Barcelos, and he's only been knocked out once in his career. And that was against Oumar Nurmagomedov, one of the better fighters in the UFC.
Who doesn't have knockout power.
Yeah, I know he doesn't have knockout power.
Mhm.
I'm just saying he's only been knocked out once. And Oumar Nurmagomedov is still a fantastic fighter. And you look at Cody Garbrandt, I think the only way he wins this fight is because of a knockout. And I think Barcelos, what he's going to do is exactly what you said, Srikar, he's going to do. He'll take him to the cage, he'll tire him out, and he'll win by decision. I don't think this fight is going to be decided by a submission or a knockout. I think it's going to go to the decision. And that's why I have Barcelos winning this fight. He'll be on a 3-fight win streak after this. Could fight in the would you say if Barcelos wins, he would get a ranked bout?
He
won't go in the rankings, but do you think he could fight someone at like 15 or 14 or something?
It depends how he wins this fight. If he wins by the way you say, then no. But like a win over Cody Garbrandt is still good. Like it's not bad, but I think he'd have to put together one more.
Yeah, absolutely. A ranked fight, he needed a fairly dominant win. Dominant decision.
Yeah.
But
and I don't think it's going to be too dominant. I don't necessarily know it's deserving of a ranked fight myself. That's why I'm a little pessimistic about that. Nonetheless, I know he's old. I get that. I think he just matches up with Cody Garbrandt really well in this fight. And I think taking him to the wall, winning by decision, I can totally see that happening. I don't see it. I don't see a knockout necessarily happening for Cody Garbrandt. I think that's a little harder in this case. And that's why I have Barcelos by decision here. Chris, what you got?
All right, so it's 1-1, one for Garbrandt, one for Barcelos. That means that I have the tie-breaking pick. Yeah, I've been watching UFC for quite some time now, almost coming up on a decade, which is kind of crazy. It just goes to show how much older we're all getting. But yeah, I mean, look, I remember watching Cody No Love Garbrandt when he was absolutely steamrolling bantamweight. I remember when he stunted on Dominic Cruz, did the dance, whatever he was doing out there. And I it's sad, but I think the Cody back then is not the Cody now. Obviously, with age, father time hits everyone. He's lost a little bit of a step, a little bit of power, a little bit of quickness, but I mean, he's still a great fighter in his own right aspect. I think that fighting Figueiredo last fight for Garbrandt was, that was a little weird. I don't think it necessarily made sense for him to do that. I think the UFC kind of just fed Figueiredo a big name in the division. So when you saw that, you're like, oh my God, all right, Figgy's, he's going to be a contender in this division. I mean, Garbrandt went from fighting Trevin Jones and Brian Kelleher, to fighting Figueiredo, who was still at the top of his game. Yep. Amazing power, amazing grappling. Then you look at Barcelos. We mentioned we all three of us together watched Barcelos fraud check Peyton Talbot, and I was a huge Peyton Talbot fan. Still am a huge Peyton Talbot fan. Great prospect, but Barcelos just showed that he's a grinder, and he's gonna make the fight ugly. He's gonna get in. He's gonna get in the clinch, work it, hold you there. Very good with knees to the body, elbows in the clinch, tight, dirty boxing. But I think, Cody, he hasn't lost that much of a step. I think that, wrestling is not his strong suit by any means, like Srikar said. And I feel like I'm almost going to repeat what Srikar said because he took the words right out of my mouth. But he hasn't lost a step. His wrestling is not his strong suit, obviously. But I think if Barcelos gets him against the cage, I don't necessarily know if he's going to be able to hold Cody there. I think Cody's still like a squirmy, slimy fighter. He just knows how to get out of situations. And I think that Barcelos does leave himself open to a lot of attacks. With Peyton Talbot, I don't know how he didn't capitalize on that, especially being a longer, lengthy fighter. I think that Barcelos, he's good at sticking, but when it comes to the moving part of the stick and move, he doesn't really move that fast. And I think Cody can just pounce on that. I think that it's going to be a war. It's not going to be easy for whoever wins. I don't necessarily know if Cody can knock him out, but I'm going to go with Cody Garbrandt to grind out a decision win and show why he is still one of the premier fighters. He still has it. I think that Cody needs this. I mean, if Cody loses this, I really don't know where his trajectory is going to go. It might just be almost straight downwards, but
I fully expect it to be the lone wolf here.
Yeah. Hey. Oh no. We talked about it. We said we're not.
It's such a close fight right now, and I don't.
Hey, look, Cody Garbrandt just got a new face tattoo. He's looking good. He's feeling good. You know what they say: look good, feel good, fight good. I think that he's going to show the old Cody No Love. I think the old Cody No Love is going to come out in this, and we're going to all be in for a treat and a surprise, and we'll have another contender in bantamweight again.
It's going to be a close fight. Now, this is a candidate for fight of the night, I will admit.
Could be.
This is going to be. I wouldn't say it's going to be a barn burner. I think. I mean, I said I think it's going to go all 3 rounds. Chris, I mean, did you think it was going to go all 3 rounds? You're debating that.
If I was going to bet on this fight, I would go right over to the double chance section and pick Cody Garbrandt by KO or decision, even though, I mean, he's not winning by submission.
He's not going to win by submission.
I mean, he could. Anything is possible, but I mean, I know the odds wouldn't be that much different from money line to a double chance, but I think that Cody, you know, obviously if he's gonna win by knockout, I think it's gonna be early. I don't think he's gonna grind Barcelos down and then knock him out late. I think that if he's gonna knock him out, it's gonna be within the first round and a half, and he's just gonna pour it on. We're gonna know what Cody looks like in the first minute of the fight. We're gonna know how comfortable he is, how quick he is, and you know, just what he's been doing to improve. I mean, hey, maybe. What if Cody No Love comes out there and has a submission or gets a submission?
I wouldn't say the first submission, but I think the first clinch exchange is when we're going to find out.
Yes, okay. You know what? I can agree with that.
I think this all comes down to the clinch. If Cody can survive in those scenarios and keep reversing and, you know, maybe put some damage on Barcelos, he's going to win. Like, he's going to win.
And definitely he's going to have to survive early, because when the fighters first come out and they're dry, no sweat, it's very easy to grab onto.
Yeah.
That's where Barcelos is really going to make his mark. Once they start getting slippery, sweaty, it's going to be a little harder for Barcelos to contain Cody being so, you know, fast. I mean, not so fast, but having just a quicker step and more of a slimy. He's like a snake against the fence, man. You really can't take him down. You just got to shoot a power double leg.
And the Ascenso knockout, which I hate to bring up for the 3rd time, that was against the fence.
Absolutely.
It was against the fence. But the Munoz knockout where Cody got knocked out was also against the fence. So, or not against the fence, but closer.
We'll see. I don't know.
We'll see what happens. I think it's going to be a very entertaining fight, close fight. Let's talk about a fight that's also, according to the odds makers, very close fight. Edmen Shahbazyan versus Andre Petroski at the middleweight. Another middleweight fight in this one. Guys, this is one I was conflicted of picking. I'll let Chris start this one, but my pick was very conflicted. I went back and forth on who I wanted. Chris, let's hear it for you. Who you got?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be a very good fight. It's definitely a styles fight. Obviously, styles make fights. I think Edmen, great striker overall, 6'2", 75-inch reach. 7-4 in the UFC, just had a TKO victory. He's kind of been teetering back and forth between wins and losses. He'll win one, then drop one, win one, drop one. But nonetheless, great striker. He's bigger for the weight class, so I think that'll definitely play into his favor. But Petroski he's not a slouch, man. He is great all around. He has hands. Great grappler, amazing grappler, trains at Henzo Gracie in Philly's own. He really has been surprising me as of late. He's been in the UFC, I believe he's 7-2. I could be wrong. Actually, yes, he is 7-2 in the UFC. His 2 losses were 8-2. Okay. His first loss in the UFC was, or actually, you know what? Let's bring it all the way back to when he entered the UFC. His first loss under the promotion, he wasn't in the UFC yet, but he lost by submission to Brian Battle. Great fighter. Love Brian Battle. He's really been making a name for himself as of late. Then he went on a 5-fight winning streak, got knocked out by Michel Pereira. And that was just, Pereira just absolutely ran through him. It wasn't even close. It honestly looked like Petroski was hurt or something happened, but he got overwhelmed. Then followed that up with a TKO loss to Jacob Malkoun. Not something that you wanted to see, but he's rattled off 3 straight wins by decision against Josh Frem, Dylan Budka, and Rodolfo Vieira. And I think that Petroski will add to that winning streak. I think that he will beat Shahbazyan. I think he's going to make it an ugly fight, something that he does very well. He's going to mix up the grappling with the striking. He'll throw 2 punches and then shoot for the takedown. He's going to keep Shahbazyan guessing the entire time. I think it will be a great fight, though. Edmen's very good at kind of, shooing the takedowns away and trying to not get caught up in that. But I think Edmen might be in trouble. And, I'm not saying that this is the sole reason that I'm picking him, but when you look at tendencies and trends of the lose one, win one, he just won one. He's in line to actually get finished. Edmen Shahbazyan is, but he has power. He's 12 wins by knockout of his 14 wins. I think that's very impressive. But I think Petroski's really gonna bring this fight into the deeper waters. He's going to try and keep this on the ground as much as possible. I think that's, his surefire way to victory is just grapple, grind it away, do what you're good at. But he has hands too. I just don't think he wants to stand in front of Edmen for that long. Such a good kickboxer, so technical and sharp. So yeah, I'm going to go with another underdog to win, Andre Petroski by decision. Srikar?
Yeah. I'll keep it short. I'm going to differ here. I'm going to go Shahbazyan by knockout. It's going to echo a lot of what I said about Mansur, Abdul-Malik, and Cody Brundage, but I just think Edmen's the better striker here. He's really explosive. He has lots of power. And Petroski, like Brundage, doesn't have the best chin in the world. He's very chinny. He's prone to the knockout, and I think in this scenario, I think Edmen finds the finish and puts Petroski away. But I do think it is, I mentioned the Abdul-Malik and Brundage fight. I do think it's closer than that, obviously. Petroski could grind out a decision. I wouldn't be shocked. This is a pick that, potentially I could switch on fight day. But as of right now, I think Shahbazyan gets it done. And I think he finds the finish.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on this, Srikar. I got Shahbazyan by knockout, but I was so close to picking Petroski by decision. It's really going to depend. Is this fight going to be on their feet or are they going to be on their ground? And I think right now, I think the fight's going to be on their feet. It's going to be on its feet right now. And that's why I'm picking Shahbazyan. As for now, this is something that could change. I think very early on, we're going to find out, is this fight on the ground? Because if it is, this is Petroski's fight to lose. And if
I think it stays up though.
And I think but that's what I'm saying. I think it stays up for now. So that's what I'm going with Shahbazyan. But this could also be the 2 fights that we just talked about, this fight and the fight before, the Barcelos fight versus Cody Garbrandt, are going to be the 2 closest fights on this card, in my opinion. Let's move on to the co-main event now. Onto the women's side. Women's flyweight, Rose Namajunas, the former champion, number 7 ranked, against Miranda Maverick, number 11 ranked in the division. I'll start this off. Rose Namajunas lost her last fight. I think this is a perfect chance for her to get back, and I think she's going to win this fight. I just think she's the better fighter in general. I know she's kind of been on a down a little bit with that last loss. But I think Miranda Maverick, this is a perfect chance for her to come back. I think this fight's going to go to a decision. And I think, frankly, Rose Namajunas is going to do it all on the ground, on her feet, and just take this the distance and get that win at the end.
Real quick, forgive me if I'm wrong. This is a 3-rounder, right?
This is a 3-rounder.
Okay.
Yes.
Chris, go.
Yeah, usually 5-rounder co-mains are going to be for pay-per-views.
Yeah, but the last time Rose fought a co-main on a fight night, it was in Edmonton, and it was a 5-rounder against Blanchfield. So that's why I was wondering.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Good call.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think it would have changed my pick. But Chris, you want to go ahead?
No, you know what? I'll let you take this one away,
Okay.
Srikar.
I'll also go Rose by decision. I mean, Maverick tends to struggle against top competition, and now she's going against a 2-time world champ. I think Rose will just play the range game, pick her apart on the feet. There's levels to this, and I just think Namajunas is a cut above in this case. So pretty easy pick for me. I'm going to go Rose.
Yep, I think this is going to be a clean sweep for the MMA War Room. I'm going to go Rose by decision as well. You guys pretty much said everything that needs to be said. Rose, great striker, extremely battle tested in the UFC, 2-time strawweight champion. Miranda Maverick, you know, she's fought good competition, hasn't had success against the best, like Srikar said. But I think that, you know, it could be a good fight. I think Miranda's best or Miranda's path to victory would be to take Rose down and just try and control her, even if it's just pushing her against the fence, working the clinch and kind of just, you know, being that waiting presence on Rose, just being a weight that she has to carry, grinding on her, excuse me. But like just grinding away at Rose, making her tired. I think that would be her path to victory. But I think Rose is too good, man. She's in line for a bounce back fight, like Sam said. Just lost to Blanchfield in a 5-round decision, and we all have seen what Blanchfield's been doing. She was supposed to fight Macy Barber. We don't really know what her future is as of right now, but I think Rose is perfectly in line for a bounce back fight. I think that this is what this is. I think the UFC, they put Miranda in front of Rose because they saw what Blanchfield did to Namajunas on the ground, the amount of control and just pure dominance that was asserted against her. I think that, you know, obviously styles make fights, and Miranda's more of a grappler than she is a striker. And Rose is obviously more of a striker than she is a grappler, but Rose is great at both. I think that, I think Rose wins by decision. I think it'll be a pretty dominant decision, if I can say that. And it'll just be interesting to see. I love Rose. She really needs to be at the top. She was one of the premier strawweights. And then I believe, didn't she lost to Manone? Was that last year or
that was her
2
first
years?
flyweight
I believe
fight.
that was last year. Yeah, that was her first flyweight fight. And obviously she has moved up in weight classes, but I think that it's a feeling out period. Once you move up a weight class, it's hard unless you're just an absolute beast. And I'm not saying that Rose isn't. She is an absolute beast. But there has to be an acclimation period, moving weight classes and just fighting a different type of fighter, you know, maybe going from being the bigger fighter in your weight class to a smaller fighter in the weight class above. But she will have the size advantage. Miranda Maverick's only 5'3". So I don't think that will pose
Which I feel like is kind of rare
to
to say for Rose Namajunas having the size advantage. That's another thing that you don't really see that too often.
Right.
So,
yeah, no, I agree.
I think that's also going to play in, and I think, I mean, it's a clean sweep here. MMA War Room thinks Rose Namajunas, the favorite here, will.
Do we all have her by decision?
What? I have her by decision.
I have her by decision.
Okay, yeah, we all have her by decision too.
So all by decision.
Rose by decision, MMA War Room certified.
Absolutely. Well, let's move on to the big kahuna here. The main event at welterweight, number 5, Kamaru Usman, former champion, versus number 7, Joaquin Buckley. I don't know why it doesn't show Joaquin Buckley's last fight here. He beat Colby Covington. Kamaru Usman, first fight in almost 2 years. Guys, I'm so excited for this one. I have some interesting thoughts on this one, so I'll let one of you guys start. Chris, Srikar, you were texting earlier. You have a lock for this pick. Let's hear it.
Yeah. Srikar, I want to hear your lock.
So obviously, with some background, Kamaru Usman is back. It's been a year and a half since we last saw him in the octagon, and now he's 38 years old. He's stepping in after a very long layoff, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you guys. I mean, this version of Kamaru is definitely a far cry from the guy who ran through welterweight not that long ago. Back then, I mean, he was just a nightmare with the pressure wrestling, literally the Nigerian Nightmare with the pressure wrestling. He had big power. He had the cardio to literally just break people. Kind of like what Merab is doing now, but he was doing it at welterweight. But I think that was before the mileage, before all the wear and tear, and you know, a couple of tough losses to obviously Leon Edwards and Khamzat Chimaev. His last win at 170 was actually back in 2021. So again, it's been a while. And we look at Joaquin Buckley. I mean, this guy
was that the Masvidal knockout?
Masvidal.
No. It was the Colby. It was the
Colby too.
Oh yeah, you're right. My bad.
But we look at Joaquin Buckley. He's 31 years old. He's right in the middle of his prime. The dude is literally just a physical freak, like explosive power, really dynamic with his striking, and he's got a lot of confidence, man. Like every second he's in there, like I feel like he's a threat, like he's dangerous, and he just shows it in the way he kind of asserts himself in the octagon. Honestly, you might disagree. A lot of his striking kind of reminds me of like a Mike Tyson. It reminds me of like a Mike Tyson, and he also has his own creative flair with it. But you know, you never know if it's a right hook or if it's like a spinning kick. You know, like he's very well balanced in that regard, and definitely not a grappler, but he can handle himself when it gets to the ground. Even against like solid wrestlers, he can handle himself. We saw it in the Colby fight. But here's the thing. I mean, you got to respect everything that Kamaru's done in not only in this division, but in the UFC. You know, 5 title defenses, a near 20 fight win streak. You know, he's done it all. But it does not matter when it goes into this fight, because Buckley's not going to go in there and be like, oh, wow, this guy used to be the best in the world. Let me just take it easy on him. This is not how a fight works. And I know in the face-offs, like people wanted to point out that, oh, Buckley was, you know, kind of respecting Usman a bit too much. I'm like, yeah, he grew up watching Kamaru respecting his reign of terror, but it's not going to like impact his game. Like it's not going to change the fight. He's not starstruck is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
This fight is about who these guys are right now. And right now, Buckley is more explosive. He's fresher. He's more dangerous. We saw what happened when, you know, a more active, better conditioned Colby Covington couldn't get it done recently. You know, how is an older, less active Kamaru Usman going to look? Like, I think Buckley is going to do it. And Usman still got the fight IQ. Like, I'm not taking that away from him. But if the physical tools aren't there anymore, like if the pace and the pressure aren't what they used to be, then Joaquin Buckley's literally just going to tee off on him. And if Usman ends up being on the back foot, that's when Buckley is going to pounce on him. That's when he does his best work. I'm going to go with Joaquin Buckley by finish. I think he's going to win by TKO. I just think all the physical tools and all the physical advantages are going his way. And the only thing I can give Kamaru is the technical knowledge of the game, but I don't think it'll be enough to win this fight.
Yeah, it's just definitely going to be an interesting one, because Kamaru in the past couple of years has been in a spot that most fighters don't really find themselves in. He obviously had a 15-fight win streak, was 1 minute away from making it a 16-fight win streak, gets knocked out, has a rematch with Leon, loses to Leon, then goes to fight Khamzat, a weight class up, which, you know, completely held his own. Short notice as well.
Yeah, I was going to mention that.
I'd argue that third Leon fight and the Khamzat fight were both draws. Like, I don't think Usman lost.
I think that, I mean, Usman, he showed that he obviously that was definitely closer to the last time that fight was closer to the last time he fought than this fight is to that fight, if that makes sense. That was a lot of words right there, but he, you know, it's really kind of, Usman's at an unknown. I mean, obviously the only knowns are he's older, and when that comes, you know, being slower, obviously wear and tear, like Srikar said, his knees are absolutely destroyed. I feel so bad for him. He has to walk downstairs going backwards because he physically cannot walk up the stairs. If you've ever noticed him in the octagon, you know, when he has someone in danger and they're kind of running away or shuffling away, he doesn't run at them. He almost does like a scoot where he almost drags his back leg, and it's because he physically cannot sprint and he cannot actually run and use that part of, you know, his game, because he was a great wrestler. He had a very good has a very good background in wrestling, excuse me. And I just don't know if that's going to matter against a younger, more powerful fighter in Buckley. I think Buckley, this is his time. Kamaru Usman, sad to say, but he's part of kind of what is now being considered the old guard of UFC. And as someone who I said I've been watching UFC for almost a decade now, the fighters that I kind of grew up watching, that old guard, is kind of being put on the back shelf, and it's really sad to see. But my heart really wants to say Usman can win, and he very well can win. He, like Srikar said, great fight IQ. He's still the same fighter. It's just the physical skills might not be what they used to be. But Buckley, man, Mike Tyson was the perfect comparison. Srikar.
I thought I was like, I'm not crazy. Like
you're not crazy with that. I think those.
Yeah, he throws everything into every single punch. It actually looks like he's doing a golf swing with his punches because he winds up so far and just unloads on people. And I think that this is Buckley's time. If the best decision that Joaquin Buckley made in his career was going from middleweight to welterweight.
Oh, yeah.
Really think so. Yeah. And, as we've been talking, the welterweight division is stacked. And just a little news nugget for you guys. Joel Alvarez recently said after his next upcoming fight that in September, October, he's looking to move up to welterweight as well. And he is a very good prospect. So this weight class is stacking up to, there's stars everywhere. And I think that Buckley he's just weeding out the old guard of the UFC, the old guard of the welterweight division. And you know what? Sadly, it's going to start with Kamaru Usman. And I think that Buckley's going to win by TKO, or I don't think he's going to knock him out. I think he'll win by TKO, excuse me. And this is not going 5. This is not going 5. If it goes 5, Usman is winning. That's all I have to say. If it goes 5,
interesting. So I'll jump in right here because I had Buckley by decision, which I think, and the reason I say that, I think, and I'm glad you brought it up, Chris.
Yeah,
I know Kamaru Usman hasn't fought in almost 2 years. I know he's on a 3-fight lose streak. You look at those 3 fights though, majority decision, and a head kick that he would have won that fight if that head kick doesn't happen. Usman knows how to take a fight 5 rounds. And I mean, he's done it. The past 3 fights, all 3 losses went to the 5th round. 1 didn't get completed. The issue I have here is I just think Buckley is overall he's just gonna outstrike him. Usman, I think, will survive the strikes. I think his defense is great. I mean, he's one of the greatest welterweights of all time. And I think that's gonna show in this fight. At the same time, though, this is the old UFC guard kind of going out. And Buckley, you said Chris, that this is the start of it. I mean, Buckley did that against Colby Covington. Kind of just weeded him out already. No one talks about Colby Covington as a title contender anymore. After this fight, no one's going to talk about.
I was just about to say that he did the same thing with Luque.
Yes, no one's going to talk about Kamaru Usman as a title contender anymore after this fight. I think Buckley wins this fight. I think the winner of this fight, I said it, I've been saying this for a long time. I think if Buckley wins this fight, he'll take on Bilal Muhammad. With how stacked this division is, just the timelines match up. I think him and Bilal will be an entertaining fight. And I think the loser of this fight is going to get fed to Michael Morales, who's going to stay undefeated and beat the loser of this fight. Probably Kamaru Usman, although with how Usman, he hasn't fought in 2 years. This is his return. He's 38. He's on his way out. I wouldn't be surprised if he drops the gloves after this fight either. Will he do it? No, I think he probably wants to end on a win. But don't be surprised, especially if he just gets rocked by Buckley. That would be a brutal blow for Kamaru Usman. But I think overall, I think this fight is going to go to decision. It's going to be a unanimous decision, though. It could be 49-46, dare I say 50-45. But more likely 49-46 is what I'm thinking. I think if it's 50-45, there's going to be a TKO somewhere in there. So that's why I'm saying 49-46. I got a UD 49-46 in favor of Joaquin Buckley. Moving up in the rankings, and is probably one fight away now from a title shot if he beats Kamaru Usman.
He really could be, man. New Mansa.
If he finishes Kamaru, like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, he might.
I just think that, I don't know. It's like Sam, you said, I think he's going to outstrike him. The thing is, Joaquin doesn't know how to just tag people, like move around, point fight. Oh, yeah, I'm going to just throw a few jabs in here. When he throws and he lands, that is like a sledgehammer hitting your face. And I just don't know if Usman's going to be able to take that. But yeah, I
mean, there's been times where Joaquin Buckley's gone to decision recently. Back last May, he went to decision. He went to May at a fight night in October of 23 against Alex Morono.
Part of the issue is if Buckley wants to point fight, if he wants to point fight with Kamaru, like he's playing right into Kamaru's game. Like I just don't think he's gonna want to do that. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think he's gonna want to do that. I don't think he's trying to do that. I think he's gonna try to go for the KO. I just think we're underestimating Kamaru Usman right now. And Kamaru Usman, I mean, he is tough, man. That is a BMF right there. Yeah. And I think he's going to survive. I think he can survive 5 rounds against Joaquin Buckley. Just barely, though. Like, it's going to be a unanimous decision. I think Buckley's going to win. I don't know. Like, and that's the other thing. Like, I don't know how exciting this fight's going to be. I'm excited for it.
It's Joaquin Buckley. At the end of the day, it'll be exciting.
I think it'll be pretty exciting.
I don't know, man. It could be a steamroll. But UFC Atlanta, Saturday night, Kamaru Usman, Joaquin Buckley headlining it. A great main card, great card all around. We'll be back on Sunday to recap the fight. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and follow us on all our socials at WarRoomMMAPod. Until then, with Srikar Rajendran, Chris Shroyer, I'm Sam Corcoran. Follow our Twitters as well. We'll see you after the fight. Take care.